Doctor, my eyes have seen the years.
Hi, you're watching Accent Your Beauty with Jackie Callan and Dr. Mark Berkowitz. We're going to get back to some of the questions. Some of these we didn't get to last week, and some of these you sent in since last week. So we're going to try to get to as many of them as possible. You ask, and the doc shall answer. So our first question tonight actually came from someone here in our building who asked me to ask the doctor if chalasian, which is like a blocked gland, we might call it a
People might call it a sty.
If that, because it changed the shape of her eye, she wants to know, is that permanent, and what do you do for that?
So a chalasian is a gland within the eyelid that becomes blocked. Could be from dirt or bacteria or makeup. And the longer it's there, that swelling, the more it can affect the shape of the eyelid. It can actually change your vision too. So if it's pressing enough.
Are they usually on the upper or lower?
You can see them on either the upper or the lower eyelid. Either one, both have those glands. And so what ends up happening is the gland gets blocked and it makes a fluid that's part actually of the normal tear film. But when it gets blocked, it continues to make it and it swells up.
Does it get thicker and more solid?
So it becomes more solid because what ends up happening is then that becomes a little bit of scar tissue that surrounds it as well. And so you want to treat it as early as possible. And so one of the ways it can be treated as soon as you feel it is by using warm compresses onto the area. If warm compresses are not helping, and not hot because you're putting it by the eye, so you don't want to burn your eye, if that doesn't help, then there are medications that we can give to help shrink. There are injections that can be given to help shrink it, or ultimately I can freeze the area and drain the fluid directly out of it.
So you don't actually have to cut it out.
It's usually incised and drained, and it's not usually fully cut out because it's usually at a part of the eyelid called the tarsus. The tarsus is actually like the skeleton of the eyelid, and so if you remove too much of the tarsus, you can get a deformity into the area.
I think maybe that's what she meant by, is it going to be permanently disfigured?
So the longer it's there, it can become a disfigurement. It's rare that it does. The majority of times it heals beautifully without causing any problems. But the problems that can occur is you can get a notch within the eyelid, and that can lead to tearing problems. You can lose eyelashes from it as well. And just a scar can form within the area too.
Now, I always wondered when you see a large sty, why they didn't take care of it when it was a small sty. So you try the compresses, and if that doesn't work, because it's an inflammation, are there anti-inflammatories you can take that will help that?
So usually we give a combination of an anti-inflammatory with an antibiotic.
So it is an infection.
It could be an infection, but it is an inflammation at the same time.
Is it bacterial?
So it can be bacterial. Usually, again, first it just starts off as just that blockage, and it's the normal fluid, but when that fluid gets backed up, within that fluid bacteria can live. And so
because it's stagnant, it's just sitting in that
there.
one spot.
That's correct.
Okay, can it eventually get so heavy that it pushes on the eyeball?
So it could push on the eyeball, and especially on younger children, it can change their vision. And so it's something that needs to be taken care of rather soon if a child's getting one.
So can it cause something like astigmatism where there's...
You're very smart. Exactly. That's what it can do, because it's changing the curvature of the cornea,
right.
So it can create a bit of astigmatism, and that's why the vision changes.
And that's really hard even to get a lens, contact lens for, because it's not a completely rounded shape. There's that deviation.
If there's enough of astigmatism, but that would be extremely rare, but that's a possibility.
So if you get a sty, start out with those hot compresses. Then if it's not going away, go see the doc, and he'll either take it out with, draw it out with a needle, give you something to take for it, or worst comes to worst, he'll get it out one way or another, but don't leave it there. So that's what we're going to do with those sties.
That's correct.
So I appreciate that. Okay, hope you learned something. Our next question says that I was diagnosed with xanthelasma on both my upper
That's a
eye
tough word.
area, but I did it right.
You did it.
And a little bit underneath both eyes. First of all, what is it? It was hard enough to pronounce, but I have no idea what it is.
So xanthelasma is formed by cholesterol deposits around the eyelids. It usually has a foamy yellow look to it. And people will get them notoriously on the lower lid toward the inside corner, with what's called the medial canthus or the upper eyelid as well.
Do you see it inside the eye?
You
or
see it
through
on
the
the skin. You see it on the
So
skin
it's
of
not
the
like
eyelid.
conjunctivitis, which
No.
is gooky stuff in the corners of your eye.
No, this is on the skin of the upper or lower lid. And so it's this foamy yellowish material. Sometimes it's whitish. You do need to check the person's cholesterol, because if their cholesterol can be very high, what's causing it as well, but they can have a normal cholesterol too. And they can be removed either surgically with a scalpel blade, or what I like to do is I use a laser and I resurface the area and help to remove that superficial, because it's right at the top of the eyelid skin, and then that usually heals them beautifully, and for most people doesn't come back. But it needs to
So
be
is it
washed.
actually under the skin where you're seeing the yellowness? I mean, you're not seeing something that's on top of the
It's
skin.
right. It's on top of the skin, but
Oh, it
when
is
you
on
you
top.
cut into it, it goes deep as well. So it's this foamy yellowish material that's there.
All right, so since it can be related to high cholesterol,
Mm-hmm.
do you see more on heavier people whose cholesterol is high? They eat a lot of fatty foods?
So while you do have to check your cholesterol if you have xanthelasma, most people who have xanthelasma, their cholesterol is normal.
Okay. Question. Do you see more men with this or more women with this?
I see about equal. Over the past 25 years of my practice, it's about equal men and women that I see.
And what
If I had to lean a little bit, I'd say maybe a little few more men, but it's been about equal.
And what's the age that you would see that and say, because
So
there's pink eye too, and that's something completely
That's completely different.
different.
That's on the conjunctiva, which is the whitish pinkish part of the eye. That's an inflammation that's there. And that can be an inflammation alone, but it could be contagious too.
But
And
this
so
is not
This is
contagious.
not contagious in any way.
Okay, so what age do you normally see it?
So most people who present to me for it are probably in their 40s to 50s when I see it for them.
Okay, so it's more of a middle-aged thing.
More middle age, well, 40 and 50 is young.
Okay, a young to middle-aged thing. And what's the first sign of it? You see the yellow?
It may just start out as a yellowish dot within the eyelid, and then all of a sudden it starts to spread. Some people it spreads so much it takes over both the upper and lower lid, like 3/4 of the eyelids.
So they just have like this yellowness around both eyes.
both of them.
Is it painful?
No, there's no pain involved in it at all.
So
It's
you,
just cosmetic. It's not harmful in any way.
So
And
I mean, obviously, if it's a woman, she could cover it up with eye makeup. But why would you want to cover it up? You'd want to eliminate it,
Yeah.
so you don't have to deal with it.
But as you say, it's not just things like xanthelasma. People get a lump or bump and they sit on it, like the chalazion we spoke about, and they wait and wait. And the biggest problem, and it's a heartache when I see it, are the people that have a growth and they wait on it, and I can look at it 1, 2, 3, and I know it's a skin cancer, and they've waited, and skin cancer is different than many other cancers, most of them, in that they just spread superficially.
Unless it's melanoma, which
Unless
goes
something like a
deeper,
melanoma, which can do, but
But
some of these other cancers too,
like
even though you
basal
don't spread,
cell or squamous cell.
right, they're usually within that area, but because we don't usually put sunblock on our upper and lower lids, bumps or lumps within that area need to be ruled out, because if you let them continue to grow, they can grow down and grow into the tear duct and further behind the orbit of the eye itself, and then it's a very complicated mess. So if you see a lump or bump on your eyelid and it's not gone within a few days' time, it really needs to be checked out by a doctor like myself.
But aren't some of them skin tags? Because I've seen people that have skin tags on their eyelids.
The answer is yes. More than likely it is something that's benign, like a papilloma or a skin tag. Skin tags can, though, if you don't remove them in time, can further duplicate themselves, because many skin tags are related to the human papillomavirus, which a lot of us are exposed to. And so you want to get rid of it before it starts growing multiple of
So
those
it's contagious within yourself?
within yourself. But the human papillomavirus is something we pass on from one person to another.
So you can actually pass along a skin tag?
Usually you're passing it on sexually, so you're not passing on by doing a butterfly kiss with somebody.
Yeah, right. So I'm just trying to figure out
But you're passing
eye
on
to
the human
eye how you're passing
Yeah, you're
along.
passing on the human papillomavirus by contact with the other person, and then once it's in their skin, it can create.
But I think what you mentioned that's interesting is that if you don't take care of it, you can develop more in that same site.
You can develop more, and even if you do take care of it, sometimes they can come back.
Same place or nearby?
Nearby, yeah. Benign lesions, even though they're benign, meaning they're not a cancer,
Right.
they can regrow as well, and people aren't aware of that.
Do they know what causes them? Now, I know moles regrow because I've had one removed, kind of superficially scraped, and within a year it came back again.
And that's because, again, it's the depth that you're going
They
to
didn't
on
get
that
all the
mole.
way to the
You
roots,
can't go all the way down
probably.
to it. The human papillomavirus is just sitting there, and so the human papillomavirus causes these little growths called papillomas. Skin cancers usually are coming about due to the sun as well as your genetic makeup too.
Not to change the subject into something that's an STD necessarily, but cold sores that you see people that have cold sores, which is a form of herpes.
It's a form of herpes. It doesn't necessarily have to be a sexual form of
Right.
herpes
Okay.
as far as a cold sore. So you have the chickenpox virus actually then sits in our body
Is
as
that
well.
like the shingles
So
virus?
that becomes like the shingles virus as well. And so it's a dormant virus that can wake up. So there are a lot of these viruses that we may get earlier in our life that can create havoc at a later time for us.
So do you recommend shingle shots along with flu shots?
Oh, I think it's very important for you to speak with your medical doctor, and the shingles virus can be debilitating for people. It can cause not only on the body pain but on the face too, and you can get a Bell's palsy as well. So there are a lot of different things that this virus can cause.
And they say that comes from people who've had chickenpox as a youngster, and
That's
it
right.
stays dormant in your body.
Stays dormant, and then some stress may bring it out, and sometimes we don't even know what that stress is.
Interesting. Okay. Now, this is from a friend of mine. I won't mention her name, but she wants to know if cool sculpting would help under her arms. You know those little bat wings that older women not always get, but it's pretty common that the skin loosens up under the arms. Can you use sculpture or cool sculpting under the arms?
So you can use it underneath the arms. What you need to know is that you're removing fat, but for many people it's more than fat the problem,
the
it's skin
skin.
as well. And so cool sculpting and sculpture are not tightening the skin. What I can do is I can use radio frequency at the same
Which
time.
is like thermage.
Which is like thermage to help tighten the skin. Or I can perform liposuction in that area and then use the Renuvion system, which is radio frequency that's underneath the skin to tighten the area.
That, I want to caution women, that takes time to see the results. You don't walk out of the office seeing the results.
That's
that can
correct.
take 6 months, correct?
It can take usually between 12 weeks to 6 months, 24 weeks.
Because I noticed another friend of mine that had thermage came home and said, I don't see anything. I said, you got to give it some time.
Yeah, and again, that's part of the education, because if people don't understand which things make instantaneous changes, like fillers,
Right.
and which things can take time. And so, things like Botox, we'll get a call 24 hours later and it's not working. Well, we spoke about it. It's 3 to 7 days to start working. Works its best at 30 days. But, people have a preconceived notion, and sometimes they don't hear the doctor.
Well,
and
we're a society of instant gratification. If I'm giving you $800 for Botox, I want to walk out there with no wrinkles. It doesn't work like that. You got to give it a little bit of time.
That's right.
And so I think that's important too. Let me ask you about arm surgery, which is the most extreme. But have you done that when you
So
do
I don't perform that, but
But
there
tell
are
me
the-
about that. What do
So-
you know of it? Where do they cut from
So
where
the
to where?
incision is, they try to hide, so it's going to go from elbow to the underarm.
Right.
Usually on the undersurface, that's the best way to hide it. But it's near impossible to hide that scar, and it's a large scar that's
Well,
there.
I think because you move your arms so much, you're always stretching that incision while it's healing, right?
Yeah.
Unless you were to stay in a coma for about a month.
And that's
An
why
induced coma.
I like using liposuction in the area, because with liposuction, number one, I'm making one, at most 2 tiny incisions, no stitches are necessary. I'm using the wand to remove the fatty tissue that's there, and then I'm using a system, again, like Renuvion, on the skin underneath to help tighten the skin for the person. Again, it's not instantaneous. It's something that may take a few months' time, but there's much less downtime. There's no large scar for them, and they get back to their regular activities faster. That said, the incision will make a better tightening overall.
Well, of course, because you're actually removing skin.
Directly.
See, I think a lot of it has to do with age too, because if you're young and just chubby and you have fat arms, you can suck them out and you're going to have the elasticity of a young person.
Correct.
If you're an elderly, or let's just say a more mature woman, and so your skin is looser, so just sucking out that fat.
You've lost the elasticity, you don't have the turgor, and so then, you know,
then
somebody...
you need the tightening with...
You need the tightening, otherwise you're waving, you stop, and the skin continues
I know.
on.
Oh, isn't that the worst? What do you call those? Is there a name for that? I've heard all different names for that little waddly part.
Like
what do you call
bat
it?
wing?
The bat wing. I had a friend that called hers Tillies because her Aunt Tilly had them when she was younger, so she always called those Tillies. So there's several ways that you can get around that.
You can get around that.
And I'm going to sneak in one more question before break because I think this won't take you too long. But what is the best surgery for heavy hanging eyes? What's the best thing for that?
So
we have a couple questions that relate to that, but
so if we're talking about the upper eyelids,
well, that would be heavy hanging, right?
Right, heavy hanging. So sometimes the first thing that people don't realize is it may be hanging because the brow's pushing it down. And if you don't address the brow and you just remove the excess skin that's there, then what ends up happening is the brow can fall down further. And so now you've not really eliminated the problem, you've changed things. So if the brow is part of the problem, we need to address that. But let's say it's just the heavy upper eyelid on its own. My preference is to use a laser, not a scalpel blade.
So you're not cutting with a knife.
You actually are cutting, but you're cutting with the laser. And the advantage of that
inside
is that the laser itself stops bleeding at the same time. So you heal faster.
So it cauterizes
It cauterizes at the same time. It also can help to contour the fatty tissue. You never want to remove all the fatty tissue because then you'd have a sunken look to your eyes. And so with the laser, I can contour the fatty tissue. I can remove fatty tissue. I can actually shrink the tissue. You can actually see it shrink. And so I believe using the laser is a safer method than using a scalpel blade within the area. I believe people heal faster with it too. We get better contouring and they get back to their regular activities.
And probably less bruising too.
Less bruising because of the fact that the laser cauterizes.
Perfect. Well, I hope we answered that question for you. We'll be back in 2 minutes, get back to some more of your questions and show you some amazing products.
Low budget movie version.
60s TV version. Early 2000s high school pseudo-adaptation that eventually grows into the geek we all know and love version here. I'm getting paid a lot of money to be here, so listen up. Watch the Geektainment channel on newradiomedia.com. It's geek approved. It's all about you, and that's the way we like it.
Where you're going.
What you do to stay fit.
What you're eating.
What you're thinking.
And how you're feeling. Join the conversation at newradiomedia.com's Lifestyles channel.
Stream the life you want to live.
Detroit. It's the home of some of the world's most talented artists. It's where techno and Motown were born. It's a city where you can experience raw, untamed rock and roll. I'm Ben Rose, and I'm inviting you to join me weekday afternoons from 4 to 5 for the Motor City Juke Joint. I'll have interviews with musicians, info on what's going on around town, and a playlist curated by me just for you. It's all right here on newradiomedia.com.
Hi, I'm Andy.
And I'm David.
Join us for fun and adventure on our new show, Podquesters, where we fight through imaginary battles and pray to the dice gods for good rolls.
Yes, it's an epic sweeping adventure. We try to fulfill our destinies without driving the Dungeon Master crazy.
I thought that was the point.
Anyways, check us out here on newradiomedia.com Fridays, Podquesters.
See you there.
Doctor, my eyes have seen the years.
Okay, we're back with those products I promised to show you. Dr. Berkowitz, what did you bring today that I'm going to want to steal from you and take home and try?
So I brought in some of my favorite products. Some are missing from here, but I'm going to go through what, if I were on a desert island and I could only bring a few products with me, what I would bring.
Oh, sure.
So-
On a desert island, don't worry about food. Don't worry about a raft. Just get
You have
your
to look
skin
good.
products.
You have to look
That'll
good. You never
good
know
even
who you're
if
going to meet.
Right. You never know who's going to wash up next to you.
You never know if Ginger's going to be there.
There you go.
Next to me.
Or the professor.
So this is actually a product I have formulated. I worked with a company to come up with, and I've been using it for 20 years plus.
No wonder you look 20.
And thank you so much.
Frozen in time.
And so this is the wash that I use morning and night for over 2 decades. Over 2 decades. And before using it, I actually had terrible skin. I always had acne breakouts. It's helped control my acne, and it helps to turn over the skin. Now, what does it have? Basically, I'm washing my skin and doing a light peel every morning and night. So this has glycolic acid in
I
it
was just going to ask you if it
and
has that
salicylic acid. So glycolic acid helps to turn over the skin, but salicylic acid helps to control acne. And it pumps in a foam. And so it's interesting, people say, how to wash. Because
That's a good question.
Right? So some people will take the soap and they put it directly on their skin first.
With no water?
With no water. And I think that's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good plan.
You must either wet the skin first or put the soap or the foam into your skin with water, suds it up, and splash the face.
Now, do you suggest putting this on with your hands or with a washcloth?
So I like doing it with my hands because of the fact that I believe I'm getting it onto my hand too, so it's helping the skin on my hand as well.
Oh, so you can put it on the
Right.
outside?
And so here's a tip for everyone, no matter what your favorite products are, when you're done applying it, if you're using your hand, don't wipe it onto a towel, wipe it back onto your hands. These products are good for your hands as well. If you're going to rejuvenate your face, rejuvenate your hands at the same time. Don't waste that product.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so you wet your face or your hands, use
suds it
this
up.
foam, put it on. Do you let it set it off for any length of time or just wash it right off?
I'm a man, I just put it on and wash it off. I don't think
Now,
give it much
is
time
this
at
good
all.
for women as far as,
It
does it
is.
help remove makeup too?
So it would
Or
only
would you
help
use that after you've removed your makeup?
after you remove the makeup. It's not going to be a great makeup remover for you.
So what does this run for people that might want to come in your office and buy it, which
So,
is the only place you can get it?
Again, because I have my staff, so I've got to think about it, but it's less than $30.
Oh, okay.
It's less than $30.
So I won't
and
put you on the
that will,
spot
That
with
will
every
last you
product.
around 6 weeks' time.
Okay.
That will last you around 6 weeks, that pump.
And it's better than using...
And that's using it morning and night.
And that's better than using soap because we know that most soaps dry your
Are
skin.
harsh to the
and are
skin.
too harsh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
All
I
right, we
love
like
this.
that.
That
okay,
is-
what else did you
okay.
bring?
So now this is my emergency product. So this product is called Pore Therapy. And where I love this is mostly a salicylic acid product. As soon as I get the inkling or a feel of a breakout, I will place this onto my skin. If I catch it early enough, 1 to 2 treatments from the time I find it to like 6 hours later, that breakout is gone.
Really? So can you use it on a blemish or a pimple after it's already formed? Will it?
You can, and it will help it to heal faster. But again, if you feel it, I keep this with me. I travel with this. So if I feel something coming on, I will put
Men
it.
are as bad as women when it comes to vanity. It's true. Men are just as vain. They want to look good all the time.
You want to look good. You want to look good.
So that right there, is it a lotion?
So it's a liquid, and the way it works, it's quite nice. The top, you take off, and you put cotton ball, push down the whole thing, and then it gets onto the cotton ball automatically, so you're not wasting
now, do you
product.
Put it on your whole face or just the area?
I usually go just after that one area where I'm feeling the blemish.
Okay, so it's like the modern day Clearasil.
It is like a modern day Clearasil, but I think it's much better.
I'm sure.
Clearasil,
They've come a long
I think,
way
is,
since
is,
Clearasil.
is too drying.
That's back to the American Bandstand days. Okay, what else do you have in there?
So now this is my favorite sunblock. So this is called UV Clear. And again, because I'm acne prone, I don't want anything that's going to clog. But I also don't want to put on a sunblock that is this white paste.
Oh, that's always nice. Looks like you have toothpaste all over your face.
I put on, and not just that, it's if it gets into my hair or my beard, it makes it look even whiter as well. So I want something that's clear, and this goes on nice and smooth, doesn't feel heavy, doesn't feel like it's going to clog your skin, and it doesn't. It's not going to cause acne breakouts.
Will that do the same thing as, you see these lifeguards sitting there with that zinc oxide, that really heavy white stuff? Is this going to give you that kind of coverage?
The answer is yes, because actually this is a zinc oxide.
Uh-huh.
But it's a zinc oxide that is made in such a way
that it's clear.
So, the old white nose,
yeah.
I'm sitting on the beach. I like that, and I also like the piece of plastic that people have.
That's attractive,
right?
too. Attached to the sunglasses, the little nose shield. That's pretty.
So this will do as well as that, but what people forget about sunblock is to reapply. And so far, all the products I'm showing, again, I don't know the exact, but they're all less than like $30.
I'm looking at this, and it says SPF 46. So that's not the highest you can get. So you don't really have to. After a certain point, isn't it all about the same?
It's all about the same. Really, once you get past 15, unless you've had skin cancer, then I would look for more around 30. But the main thing with all sunblocks is remembering to reapply them. And when do you place them? You don't place them as soon as you go out in the sun. You have to place them like a half an hour beforehand so they can start working.
Now, what about women that wear makeup? Do you put this over or under your makeup?
I would put that under makeup. Put this on first.
And then the makeup.
Wait 10 or 15 minutes, and then your makeup.
So this is something good for women to apply every day when they get dressed, because we're all out in the sun, whether we're laying in the sun or walking in the sun or being active outside with the kids or grandkids.
It is a terrific product.
This is a good product.
And don't forget, especially for men, don't forget the top of the ears, because even if they're wearing a cap, their ears are sticking out, and ears are notorious, again, to get sunburn. A burn is just...
Do you see skin cancers on the ear?
You see skin cancers on the ear.
And the nose. I know that's a common area.
And the eyelids. I mean, you can see it anywhere on the face, but those areas are notorious.
Most products, it says do not apply near the eyes. So you wouldn't put this on your eyelids.
So as far as the eyelids are concerned, I will not apply it to the upper eyelid, so between the brow and the lash line. But I always wear sunglasses, and more important than sunglasses is a hat, because you want to block the sun from up above. So a hat is as important. Plus, many men, their hair is thinning too. You want to protect the scalp. There are some sprays that they can use to protect the scalp. Usually a pump like this, you can use it, but it's going to stick to your hair as well.
Okay, so it would make your hair greasy, so you don't want to put it in, but just on the skin that's exposed.
Correct.
Okay, another good product. Let's see what else we have.
So now, let's say you were out in the sun, or you had some kind of inflammation. This is a product called Aven. So Aven is from a Parisian well. I was actually in Paris 2 weeks ago, and I went into a pharmacy, and I was so upset because I could buy this in Paris for much less than I even get at wholesale.
Really? So why didn't you import some from there and start selling it?
You only bring so much back. But this, number one, it's refreshing. It's a thermal spray that you can just spray onto your skin.
Now, is this something that you use after you've been in the sun, like if you have a sunburn?
So, first of all, it's anti-inflammatory. This is truly the anti-aging Ponce de Leon water.
Oh,
okay?
There's a little fountain of youth in here?
It's a fountain of youth. It's been found to be anti-inflammatory, and so we'll use it after resurfacing, but this is something that you can use every day just to refresh the skin.
In what order of all the products? There's so many things. You got to put on your sunscreen. You got to use your cleansers.
So I'd wash every day, use this as needed. I would put sunblock on in the morning.
Okay.
Okay, if I'm doing the most simplistic steps.
It feels nice and refreshing.
It's amazing.
It's so cooling.
Oh yeah.
It feels nice. So you put this on. So if you put the sunscreen on, then your makeup, then you spray this on top of makeup.
So I don't wear makeup.
Not for you, of course, but I mean,
but you
for
can,
a woman, would you just mist it on top of your makeup?
You can mist it on top. It's not going to ruin your makeup.
Mess it up.
No.
Wow.
You just do a light mist. You're not trying to make it drip down. You're just doing a light mist.
Right, just to mist your face.
Yeah.
And it probably gives it a dewier look.
Right. Now, if you need even more moisture, and so this is not something that I use every day.
It's like The Greatest Showman.
But
let's see what else you got.
Same company, they take this product, and what they do is they concentrate it into a cream. And so if your skin becomes very dry, it can be used. I'm not saying this as your doctor, but if you were to get a burn, this is amazing for healing burns as well.
For sunburns.
Sunburns,
or
and
I've seen
burns.
So like if you burn yourself with a curling iron or in the kitchen, that's better than ice or butter or whatever.
This is a fantastic product for healing. And again, it has, and all it is the same water placed into a cream. It's that same concentrated water. It's an amazing product. And again, this is an artesian well that people were going to for years, and this company bought the well and the source and has made so many different products out of it, but it's pretty amazing.
And you authenticate that that's really where it's from.
Oh,
it's genuinely, it wasn't made in Hamtramck or something.
But that's a great question, because we get people all the time say, I found this product and I found it on the internet. I found it at Amazon, and you're charging, let's say, $20, but we see it on Amazon for $7. Well, here's the thing. The products that are sold only to doctors are sold only to doctors, and there's no doctor that's out there that's then selling it for less, because the companies...
So are they knockoffs? Like we have knockoff purses and knockoff...
They're knockoffs, even to the point that Costco got hit. Costco was selling some skincare products for less.
Were knockoffs?
And they were knockoffs. And
don't buy knockoffs. Don't buy things online. Buy products like this from the doctor. Then you know you're getting the real deal. We'll be right back to talk about some celebrities and try to guess what they have or haven't had done. We'll be right back.
As a business owner, you're always looking to save money and cut costs where you can. And if you advertise on radio or television, you know it can get pretty pricey. If radio and TV aren't delivering like they promised, and you're looking for a more reasonably priced way to get your message to the masses, I've got an answer for you. New Radio Media. With live streaming and on-demand programming, your message can be seen throughout the day, and you can worry a little less about cutting those costs. For more information, go to newradiomedia.com or call Buzz Van Houten at 248-939-9999.
Hey, you guys, it's Raphael of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Guess what? The only thing we can get down here in the sewer is Geektainment Weekly on New Radio Media. Turtle Power!
Maple Lane Golf Club is a 54-hole golfing treasure located in the heart of Sterling Heights. Maple Lane Golf Club offers immaculate greens, a top-flight pro shop, and inexpensive green fees. For convenience, book your tee time online at maplelanegolf.com. Come out and enjoy a great golf experience. Try our 9 and Dine special, 9 holes of golf, and enjoy food and refreshments in the Clubhouse Bistro. That's Maple Lane Golf Club in Sterling Heights. Check us out at maplelanegolf.com.
Are you ready for some fun? Because I am. This is one of my favorite segments. I won't say it's my favorite, but it's one of my favorites because we get to look at some celebrities with the beautiful Cali over here, and she's going to tell us, or we're all going to kind of guess, what these celebs have had done, and then the doc will tell us what they've probably had done. So who do we have first today, Callie?
So the first person that I found is Robert Pattinson.
Oh, from the Twilight series.
Yes, iconic Twilight figure. It was always Team Edward or Team Robert Pattinson. So,
and he's not that old that he should have had that much done, but let's take a look at him. Oh, okay there. Doc, what are you looking at? What are you seeing?
So I always like to start from the top down, and I think his hair is natural. His brows have been contoured, but I don't think there's anything cosmetic going on with them. But it looks as if his upper eyelid, he may have had either a little bit of skin removed, but more likely it's a little bit of Botox to help elevate the brow.
Oh, is that what it is? Because he does have a heavier lid. If you look at his lid there,
right. So I
maybe
think
a little
I think
heavier.
it was probably more Botox for him to lift that. His nose, it could be the angle. He still has a little hump within the nose itself, so I don't think
the tip looks like it's been lifted, doesn't it?
Yeah,
the
it
tip
definitely
looks a little
it does.
refined.
As far as his jawline is concerned, he has a bit more fullness in the jawline afterwards.
That could just
could
be maturity.
That's right. Could be maturity, could be filler. It's impossible to say.
And he hasn't done his lips. Guys don't do their lips very much, do they?
I do have men who come to do their lips, but it's not
as
many
common.
men.
Men are babies, and lips aren't the most painless part. So I can just see these big, strong guys getting needles. Not okay. So, but he's a nice-looking guy.
Yeah, you can definitely tell in the second picture his face looks a lot fuller than in the first one, but his jawline is just really nice.
He looks very metrosexual, like he tweezes his eye or waxes between them, keep that nice brow looking clean.
And again, as far as the fullness, it can be filler. It can just be that he's put on some weight. I mean, in the picture before, he looks 20 pounds lighter.
Yeah, leaner and gaunter. But I think he looks good in both. So either way, he's looking good. So who else do we have to look at?
The second one is Mila Kunis.
And Mila Kunis, we all know from The Swan and some other things that she's done. And she's married to Ashton Kutcher. So, there's a big difference in her brows. Well, I'll let the doc talk because I'm looking and I'm saying, wow, okay.
So again, hair, I don't think she's done anything with. The brows, the brow is a thicker brow, but I don't think that's a surgical brow. I think that, I don't think she had an eyebrow transplant. I think that's makeup for her.
Or could it be that microblading that she filled in?
It could be, yeah. It could be even micropigmentation within the area too.
Because it definitely looks like a thicker brow and not quite as arched because they filled in underneath.
Her eyelids, this is just a change in makeup. I don't believe she had any eyelid surgery. Her nose is definitely thinner.
Yeah, it's been narrowed down, thinned down in the middle there and the tip.
Her lips, I believe there's a touch of filler along the vermilion border and the Cupid's bow.
She looks like she had actually more in the lower lip in the first picture.
Yeah.
Right, but now if you look, so in the first picture, she has the beauty angle of phi, which is 1 to 1.6, and that's what we're looking at. In the second, it's about 1 to 1. And that's why I believe she had filler placed in her upper lip. And you look at that Cupid's bow and it's more pronounced for her.
Okay, but everything else looks, I would say those pictures aren't more than 5-6 years apart.
Yeah.
They're not like 20 years apart. So
she's not old enough.
I know. Well, she's probably what? Is she 30 even? So one could have been when she's 20.
That's
and
true.
One more recently.
Yeah, her face looks very more full in the first picture, and then in the second one, as she's gotten older, it has slimmed down a little bit.
She's still beautiful.
Yeah,
she looks beautiful in both pictures.
Gorgeous.
Okay, and our next celebrity is going to be
JWoww for Jersey Shore.
Oh, I didn't watch that show. Do you watch that, Doc?
I do not. I mean, it was on years ago. There were one or two famous ones that I
No, there
I heard
was
of,
the situation.
Situation. He was a DJ, right? For a
Yeah, is
while.
that what he was? And then there was the girl, what's her name?
Snooki.
Snooki, and she had the big thing up here at the top, the poof. But I don't think
Yes.
she has the poof anymore. So let's see what she's had done.
Yeah, I noticed in the beginning of the show, just normal, nothing done that I know of. But as she progressed through the show and she has her own show now, she definitely looks a lot different.
So again, same thing with her brows. Her brows are elevated. They're much fuller. Could be the microblading. Could be makeup within the area. But her brow does sit higher compared to her eye. And so that's probably Botox that's raising her brow. Her nose has definitely been thinned, and her cheeks have definitely been elevated. So
You're right, because they definitely seem to be sitting
Yeah.
higher. She's had filler along the cheekbones, correct?
And it's been placed well because before, her hair is blocking a little bit, but the height of her cheek, the high point, was really the central part of the cheek, and that's not a youthful cheek unless you're a baby
Yes,
or
right,
or much older. And so, her cheek high point is actually quite nice. As far as her lip, she's definitely had filler.
Yes, you can see that.
And more of a pout, but I don't care for the filler because it looks too much like a log, her upper lip. You don't see the definition at this point. There's two tubercles that are filled now, and it's just
Do you
too
feel like
log-like.
the lower lip is filled a lot more than the upper?
It is. It's definitely, but it's too much fill. She's lost some definition to her lip with it, and her jawline. Again, it could just be the angle that she's looking at, but it may not be tremendously different. She's lost some weight as well with it. But properly placed filler can make it look as if your face is thinned out. So by placing the filler higher on her cheek, that thins down the rest of her face as well. And you don't need much filler to do that.
I was wondering with the microblading, which is a big fad right now. So many women are getting it. And it's always that thicker here and it gets thinner towards the side. But what happens down the line when skinny eyebrows come back in style and you don't want that shape? You can't tweeze them away because they're permanently affixed. So what do? You just
like, is it
deal with
permanent
it
forever, or will it ever go away, or?
So the thing is, as you mature, you're still going to lose some of the hairs within the brow, so it probably would thin out just with time for them.
And it is like a tattoo, so it fades. I think you have to
Fades over
keep that
time.
up. Okay, so who else do we have?
Taylor Swift.
She's so young. Now, let's see what could such a young girl as Taylor Swift have done.
Yes. She went from being a popular country singer to more of a pop artist now. And yeah, you can definitely tell her face has changed a little bit, her nose. What do you think,
say?
Dr. B?
So it's interesting. First of all, again, she's being young, it's probably doubtful, but when somebody all of a sudden goes to bangs, it could be style, but it could also be that they had Botox and it lifted the brow too high, and they're hiding some lines that are created.
Well, we can't see
right,
that.
we can't see, but it's possible.
I think it's just the look because it goes with that cut. She has the more blunt cut at chin length, and I think the bangs kind of set that off. So,
But there's definitely Botox, because if you look at her brow position to her eye prior, and then look at the space between her upper eyelid, and you can see her brow coming through on the right side. You can see that it's higher up, so it's opening up her eyes. So that's a Botox brow lift, and it's beautiful. It's just
well,
over the
especially for those girls that have the more squintier eyes, that don't have the round eyes. They have the thinner eyes, and then when they smile, their eyes. You see some people when they smile and their eyes close because their eyes are thin to begin with. So I think she must have done something to make them pop more, to be, for photographs, more open.
And she's definitely thinned her nose as well. Her lips, whether that's just makeup or not, it's hard to say.
Lipstick.
But the only thing I'll say is, if you look at her lip beforehand, it was more balanced, that upper lip. The upper lip now on the left side has a totally different angle than the right side.
You'd have to look really close.
Well,
You'd have
I
to
do.
be a
You're asking me
doctor
to.
see that. Right, because I would not. Would you have noticed that, Kelly?
No,
I mean, look at her skin. It's flawless. But what is she, 25?
Yeah.
If that.
Very young.
Yeah, beautiful skin. But I do think that her eyes look more open, which is prettier, and her nose is
And the shape of her face is more pleasing, but that comes with maturity.
Exactly,
Yeah,
because she looks like a teenager there.
Yeah, she's thinned out some in the picture on the
she
right.
looks really,
She
really
looks great.
pretty. I think
Yeah.
she's adorable. And she's a great talent. Have you seen her, either
Very
one of you
true.
seen her in person?
I have not seen her in person, I wish.
Yeah, my kids went and saw her recently and said she was phenomenal.
Really?
So next we have up, who is
Zac.
that? Zac Efron, who's really a hunk. I mean, he looks good before, after, whatever. Look at him.
Yes. he
Wow.
Doesn't seem to age, really. But you can definitely tell that he's gotten maybe his nose.
His nose is, been thinned out a little bit. His eyebrows have been just coiffed. You know, the Justin Bieber haircut is no longer in, so he changed his hairstyle. His jawline is much more square, much more masculine. Again, looking at the age of that can happen just from maturity, but can be performed with filler as well. And adding the beard helps also.
I would say, this
Go
is
ahead.
my opinion, but I don't think he's had anything done. I think that's just him. He's just gorgeous. And he looks pretty much just like a slightly older version of himself. I wouldn't look at him and say, wow, he's had a lot of work done.
No,
So
not at all.
I mean, the only thing you might pick is the nose, and even then, that really doesn't look all that different. It could be the angle.
Right, could all be mature.
I'm going to give him a pass, and I'm going to say that beautiful man is naturally beautiful.
I think you like him.
I think he's adorable. Did you see him in The Greatest Showman?
I did. I thought it was a great movie.
Did you see that?
Such a cute movie.
Oh
yes.
my God, he was wonderful. Very dreamy. Okay. If I was like 50 years younger, maybe. Yeah, he's a cutie. So I don't know if we have time or we're going to take a break, but I do know that we have some more for you to look at. So basically, I would say that so far, we're going to say most of them have had something, and you agree with that.
Yeah, but a little something's okay.
Oh, no, I'm saying
right,
that.
yeah.
No, I'm just saying that
Yeah.
we could pretty much agree that mostly all of them tweak their nose. But I'm going to say that Zac is natural. That's going to be my opinion on him.
All right, we'll go with it.
And we're going to
Yes.
go with that. Tell me how you decide to find these pictures. Are these people that you personally like, or are these people that you've looked at and thought there was something noticeably different?
I think when I look for these pictures, they're definitely characters or actors in movies that I admire in some way or another, or I like, for example, Taylor Swift. I adore her. I think she's girl power all the way. So I really like her. Zac Efron, you know, High School Musical, growing up, that was childhood. So just kind of depending on the characters, and yeah.
And I think we kind of expect it more with celebrities because they have the money, they have, you know, the certainly the availability of every good plastic surgeon in California. So
Most are good.
It's pretty easy. But if you're a local celebrity, you could just go to Dr. Berkowitz and look as good as they look. So we'll be right back with a few more celebrities, and we can guess what they've had done. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Advertising your business these days can be challenging. Traditional radio and TV ads are expensive and, frankly, a bit of a crapshoot. Not to mention, the audience for over-the-air material is shrinking as more and more of us demand to see and hear what we want, when we want. Advertising on new radio media is a solution. With our live streaming programs that are also available on demand, your message is always ready when your customers are ready to watch and listen, all for a fraction of what you'd likely have been paying for other ads. NewRadioMedia.com. Call Buzz Van Houten at 248-939-9999 for more information.
It's all about you, and that's the way we like it.
Where you're going.
What you do to stay fit.
What you're eating.
What you're thinking.
And how you're feeling. Join the conversation at NewRadioMedia.com's Lifestyles channel.
Stream the life you want to live.
Do you want to see things like this?
Did you just say you died?
Well, I mean, technically.
Or maybe even something like this.
We'll do nothing but destroy your corpses and burn them all for my dogs.
Your dogs are gone.
And sometimes, a little of this.
We need to have a talk.
I take my axe and I smash it.
No!
And check out Podquesters, the show where we tackle ghoulish goblins, fiendish foes, and dangerous drakes.
Oh, like the singer?
No, the dragon creature. Anyways, Podquesters, Fridays, only on newradiomedia.com.
Hi, I'm Art, and we're the crew at Tuffy Walled Lake. We've been in Walled Lake for 20 years, and through our knowledgeable staff and customer satisfaction, we've become quite the cornerstone in our community, and to our discerning customers statewide. We know how important your vehicle is to you, and we take pride in our impeccable, affordable service, and we're trying to get you back on the road as quickly and safely as we possibly can. Please stop in and see why everybody comes from all over to get their cars serviced at 784 North Pontiac Trail in Walled Lake.
Doctor, my eyes have seen
Okay, we're back with more celebrities that we can look at and analyze. We saw Mila Kunis. Now we're going to look at her other half, Ashton Kutcher, and let's see what he's had maybe done.
Yeah, so speaking of good-looking men, Ashton Kutcher is definitely just still looks great.
Okay, so you would take him over Zac Efron? Is that more your type?
You know, I really like his personality. I find him to be very funny, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like Ashton Kutcher maybe.
Here's a little secret. I've met him. I
Really?
haven't met Zac Efron.
Really?
But he wasn't all warm and friendly and fuzzy.
Really?
He's kind of a little more aloof and standoffish. So I'm going with Zac, and you can have Ashton when he's
Okay.
done with Mila.
Perfect.
So what do you think, Doc? What's he had done?
So he's got a very rugged look, and more so in the later picture. It's tough. I mean, his eyebrows have not been touched. His eyelids have not been touched. His nose, I don't think has been touched. He definitely hasn't had anything in his lips. His jawline. I think it's his rugged good looks. I mean, I think what we're going to have to do next time is look at the next pair, which is Demi Moore, right? The next step, and Bruce Willis.
Okay,
Oh no, they've changed a lot. They've changed a lot.
That's where we're going to have to look next.
I mean, she's had a lot done.
She's had a lot
and
done.
he's bald now, and he looks considerably older. Well, he is considerably older, so that's going to be an obvious one. I'm going to go with him and Zac looking just naturally a little more mature, but still, they're both very handsome men.
Now, the only thing I would say about him is if you look at his jawline has become much more wide. And so I think he's got stress, and I think he grinds his teeth at night. And that's what's created the bigger jawline for him. And that, if he wanted to thin down a little bit, we could use a little bit of Botox in that area, and that would actually thin down because that masseter muscle has become swollen. And that usually comes about from stress. So I can usually find people that are stressed out just by looking at their jawline.
See how my jawline, I have no stress. You can tell I'm stress-free. But poor guy, I mean, we're assuming right now that he grinds his teeth, that he's under a lot of stress. He's probably just a happy guy. But Ashton, if you happen to be catching this, and you can certainly go to New Radio Media Lifestyles and find us, please drop us a line. Let us know if you grind your teeth at night, please, just so we know. And if you do, the doc can give you just a tad of Botox, fix that right up. So, who do we have next?
Did on Punk'd? Is that what his show was on?
Yeah. Oh, he was. What's the other show he was on? He was on another show with a whole group of people. The 70s show, was that him?
The 70s show.
Yes, I think so.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, neither am I. So that was just a wild guess. So if anyone knows, let us know. So now we're going to look at Kate Winslet.
Yes.
Kate Winslet, who's a beautiful actress. I think most people know her from Titanic.
Titanic, yes.
With Leonardo DiCaprio, with him holding her in the front of the boat. I mean, how beautiful was that? Yeah. So, I think we can say she might have had some stuff done. What do you think?
So, looking at the shape of her brow, Again, I believe she's had a little bit of Botox. Unfortunately, in the second picture, the brow's coming down a little bit more on the left side than the right side. So she may have had a little too much Botox placed on the left upper brow area, causing it to come down for her. But it could be a natural asymmetry as well, but I'm just looking at from before to
It's
after.
kind of hard to compare because she's at an angle here and she's straight on here. So we're not getting apples and apples here.
And before, she had a lot of fullness to her face, and she still has the fullness in her cheeks, but now there's, an indentation underneath the cheek that could be what's called the buccal fat pad being removed for her to create that indentation.
Or it could be makeup.
Could be makeup
The way
to
it's
create
been shaded.
contours as well for
Makeup,
her.
but
As far as her nose, again, you're looking at two different angles, but it's possibly that it was thinned out. The lips, very hard to say. I think it's just makeup at this point.
because they look similar in size. So if she did have anything done, she had it done then as well as now.
Yeah, I love her lips.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Gorgeous.
They're beautiful.
She just has a more athletic look to her face too.
And she's pretty either as a redhead or a blonde, so I think she can go either way. Before we go, we have one last person. Oh, this is a good one. We have Melania Trump. So let's take a look at her before and after, and wow, where to begin? Okay, Doc, that's a full face of change.
That's a full face of change. So her brows, yes, that could be Botox, but I believe it's a brow lift that she had as well. And for a few reasons that I believe that. Number one, the angle of the brow has changed. Number two, I'm surmising by her hair, but it looks like her forehead is slightly smaller on the left side. So I believe they raised her brow with what's called a coronal lift, which is an incision from ear to ear, and lessening her forehead. Her eyelids are more of a cat eye afterwards, to the point that they're cutting through the lower part of the eye, which is not natural.
So
and that's
that's
by
what
placing
they
a
did to
stitch
that-
into the corner here.
Right, so that lifts like that cat
The canthus,
eye.
yeah. It's not a look that I like, but she must.
Obviously.
her-
Donald must like it.
He must.
True.
I don't know how much he likes it, if the rumors are true. His other looks he likes also. So let's look at her,
Her nose is definitely been done and overdone, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's very much thin.
It's much too
and
thin.
the tips raised up.
Yes.
So
As
do you
well.
think that nose is too thin for her face?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think so. I think it kind of goes up a little bit too, in a way.
Yeah, and it's not straight still. She has a concavity on the left side, so as well. Those things can be fixed, but looking at that nose, I believe that nose has been operated on more than one time to obtain that result.
Well, I think the biggest change with her is mid-face. It's the eyes and nose more. I mean, she looks like she has some filler in her upper lip, wouldn't you
She
say?
has,
And
she-
that-
Right, because it's changed that dimension. It's now 1:1, where it should be 1:1.6. She's also lost her nasolabial fold, and that's not a nice look. So the
Oh,
line
she
that's
has-
over here,
you're right. There's
no
no
fold at all.
definition.
And so when you have the cheek really flowing directly into the lip, it's something that we see more in apes than we see in human beings.
So it's more of a simian thing. It's more in the monkey world.
Correct.
So you're saying she kind of looks like a monkey.
I'm just saying it's not
a pleasant look to you.
look to me. And her upper lip was just been overfilled at this point in time.
So would you say her face looks to you out of whack? So it's
It
kind
looks
of
plastic. I mean, we want to have people think we're aging naturally, but yet do things that make us still look younger. To me, she looks plastic, and what she would look like without the surgery. She still may look better than what she would have looked like without surgery, but I like a more of a natural look. I don't want it that people look at you and are guessing what you had done.
So of all the people we've seen today, you would say she's the most extreme, has had the most done, and you would say her result is the least pleasing.
For my taste.
What do you think, Callie?
I think it's unnatural. I definitely think that there's others that are more natural, like Taylor Swift, Zac Efron. You can barely tell if they've even gotten anything. But
in all due respect, she's older
Correct.
than
Yes.
all of them
Yes.
as well.
That's true.
So I think we have to take that in consideration.
So we'll have to compare her to Demi Moore.
Yeah,
Yes.
plus the
There we
fact that I think it's a given that every celebrity from the time they're born, or probably maybe kindergarten, they start with Botox and fillers and things. They alter even in the pageants, I found out, even those little youth pageants, they wear flippers, those fake veneers, and they do Botox and things on these little ones. So I guess you're never too young to be beautiful. So we'll be back next week with more tips, more of your questions answered, more fabulous products, and more celebrities that we can tear apart and discuss. So stay beautiful. We'll see you next week.
Dr.